What am I doing back under here in the hood? Well, I got a charging issue. This has been lingering for a little bit, and I never really worried about it because I wasn't really using the car that often, but I'm using it more and more. So let's do some digging, find out what's going on here. So some of you new viewers probably don't know this, but this car was found in a barn along with some other cars, blah blah blah. You can watch my first video and get all the history behind this. Now basically it was a parts bay for other cars, and it didn't come with like a distributor cap, didn't come with an alternator. It was missing some brake components, some other things had been taken off of the car. But let's get to the alternator. So I did buy one of these remanufactured alternators. This one is a 3-wire one. This is supposed to go on a car that's later model than this car. And what they do is they alter it. They clip one of these field connections and ground it out so you don't need it. So you can basically use this in a 2-wire car that has an electromechanical voltage regulator, which is over there on the firewall. So let me tell you the quick story. I knew I was having some sort of battery drawdown issue, basically because when I left the car, the battery would wear down and I wouldn't be able to start it, and I needed to charge up the battery. I thought it was something in the car that was grounding out, like a light or something like that. Not grounding out, but it was always on, so that was depleting the battery. But as I've been driving this more and more, I found that the battery is depleting enough and the alternator isn't powering up the car. So I need to diagnose this. One thing that's really kind of weird is that I think I have the wrong belt. This is the part number of the belt, which I'm going to have to look up, because basically what happens is I run out of room when I'm trying to get the alternator tightened up. Okay, so here's the situation with this. And I checked this mounting bracket is the way it should be. And there are 2 mounting holes here on the alternators, one up here and one down here. If I try to use that bolt hole, there's no way I can adjust this without having a bunch of slack in the belt. And if I use this other hole, which I think would be the right hole, I can get to a certain point, but then it sort of bottoms out on the firewall and kind of hits the end of the slot on this mounting bracket. And I've worked on these cars before. This should be somewhere around here. You can actually see sort of a, maybe hard to see, but there's like a witness mark where a bolt probably was at one time. So I think that up here is probably like where this should be mounted. And I think that wherever I got this belt from, I think this may be the wrong belt. It's a little bit too long. It says 17 on it. I wonder if that means 17 inches. But I'm going to look up this number. But in the meantime, if I can get enough on this that it turns. So let me tighten this up here. Well, you've seen people tighten bolts before, so we'll be back. I need 2 hands. Alright, so that's tightened up. And yeah, I have more deflection than I need, but this will turn the alternator. I have a very sneaky suspicion that this is bad. So let's do a couple tests. Alright, so I got my little $6-7 not Harbor Freight multimeter. There you go. I'm setting this on 20 DC volts. And let's see what we're reading on the battery. I know the battery is a little low, so I've been playing with it out here. So 11.92 should be about 12.6, somewhere in that range. Let's take a look at the alternator. No, 11.93. So I know that this is connected to the battery. So this is the line that goes to the battery to charge up the battery. So this goes for the alternator. And then there's another part, which there's a real good video I'll post about voltage regulators. But basically what the job of this is that the higher the RPM of the car is, it limits the amount of voltage that the alternator will give to charge up the battery. And there's a set of points in here. It's kind of a neat electromechanical type of device. I don't like some videos because I'm not really that great on this, but basically what happens is you have a connection up here which is called field, and that goes to the alternator, and that's the field, and that's what controls the amount of voltage that the alternator is allowed to regulate, or this regulates. I think that's what it is. And down here is the ignition wire. That's where you get the power. And this, I think, is good, although it's very old. But here, I'll do another test for you. Alright, so we're at 11.9. I'm going to go start the car. Extreme close-up. I know it's going to be a little blurry, but alright, I'm going to go start the car. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but what should happen is when the alternator is running and you rev up the engine, it should increase. So as you can see, that's staying that's steady. And here's another thing here, that the ammeter, or the alternator meter, it's called an ammeter, is not charging. It should at least show that it's charging. But if I go to do something like I put on the lights, you can see that it does increase. If I give this a little gas, it doesn't move, it should be charging. And here's another thing that's indicative. I'm not going to do this again because it's somewhat problematic, but I did take a jumper wire and jumpered from up here to from the field to the ignition, basically taking the regulator, the voltage regulator out of the picture. And you have to trust me on this. And I did the same exact test, and nothing happened. This stayed at 11.82. Let's try something else. Let's turn the lights on. Yeah, so I know the lights are running right off the battery. Just turn the lights off. So what's going to happen basically is, even though I just charged up this battery a couple days ago, it's going to continue every time I start it and drive around. I've been driving it mostly in the daylight, haven't used the lights or anything like that, but it's just going to continue to deplete the battery. So, a quick little video. Got a couple of things that I'm going to do. I'm going to try to find the correct belt for this. And the second thing is I'm going to take this back to Napa and have them do a test on it. I have a really good suspicion that I have a bad alternator. Alright, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video as I try to figure out these electrical issues. And I'm sure there'll be a part 2 to this as soon as I figure out what the heck is going on. So, that's about it. Now,